When Cardi B woke up that morning, the sky was cloudy, but the fire burning inside her shone as bright as the sun. Today was her day, a victory day against those who ignored her, excluded her, and looked down on her. Among the gray buildings of New York, her star was rising, and today she would face the darkest secret of her past. She had never just been an artist. She was a struggle. She was a rebellion. Cardi B is the name of survival, of being reborn. But today, the price of that rebirth would be paid. Let's rewind. Before her name was known, Belcalis, who grew up on the streets of the Bronx, learned the ways of survival not from her mother but from life itself. Her broken relationship with her father had always left her incomplete. Her mother was a house cleaner. Her father was once an undocumented immigrant from the Dominican Republic. Life had never shown them any compassion. But Belcalis had never chosen to bow to the merciless world. When she danced in clubs, people only watched her body. But she watched everyone with her eyes. She had memorized who had weaknesses, who was hiding what. When she released her first track, people thought she was just an internet phenomenon. They said, "It will pass." But it didn't. In the place she had clawed her way to, she was no longer alone. She had cracked the music industry's inner workings. She knew who her friends were and who her enemies were. But something still gnawed at her. A man who had left her as a child, then years later appeared when he smelled the scent of her fame. Her father. The man appeared years later and said, "I'm proud of you." But his eyes said something different. Cardi B had never forgotten that encounter. The unresolved issue, the unopened book, stayed with her. And now, when she decided to tell her life story for a documentary project, her father was included in the story on the director's suggestion. While everyone expected an emotional reunion, Cardi B had been waiting for this moment, not for reconciliation, but for answers. The shooting day arrived. A large mansion had been rented. Camera crews, lights, makeup artists, everyone was excited. Cardi B woke up at 6 a.m. and silently got ready. Today was different. While choosing her outfit, she wore a simple black dress. Strong, yet elegant. Her makeup was bold, but not excessive. When she looked in the mirror, her eyes were different. Today, she was going to face her past. The room was silent. The director said, "We're ready." The lights came on. The man sitting in front of her on the chair smiled. Despite the years that had passed, his face was familiar. But he was a stranger. "Hello, daughter," he said. Cardi B remained silent for a while. Then she began to speak. But this wasn't an interview. This was a confrontation. "You left me when I was in my mother's womb. Then you weren't there on any of my birthdays. When I was expelled from school, you weren't by my side. When I danced, you chose to watch me, but not help me. Then when I hit the stage, when I shone, you came. You smiled at me like a man who had never known me." The man was stunned. "But I love you." Cardi B continued without holding back tears. "Love is not just a word. I lost love every day on the streets of the Bronx. But every day, I embraced myself again. I gave myself the love no one gave me. And I allowed you into this story because I wanted to show your face to millions of women who have no voice. They too, like me, have known abandonment instead of love." The cameras were rolling, but in that moment, even the cameras didn't matter. There were only two real people, a father and a daughter. After the shoot, the director wiped his tears and approached her. This was so much stronger than I expected." Cardi B just nodded. "It's not over," she said. "This is just the beginning." The documentary made a huge impact, but Cardi B didn't stop there. Her story became the voice of other women. She provided scholarships for single mothers raising children alone. She founded a young women's center in the Bronx. Her music career was already at its peak, but now she was no longer just an artist. She was a symbol. Months later, she received an invitation from the British royal family. She was asked to speak at an award ceremony for women hosted by the princess. When she took the stage, the room was filled with the royal family, journalists, and women from all over the world. Cardi B took the microphone. "I stand here, not as a star, but as a little girl. A girl abandoned by her father, but who never abandoned herself. And if I'm here, all of you can do it too." That speech was shared millions of times on social media, but the real event happened at the end of that speech. A woman in the audience stood up. She had a letter in her hand. She slowly walked to the stage. Cardi B didn't recognize her, but her eyes filled with tears. The woman spoke. "I'm your father's first wife, and I brought you a letter that was written years ago, but never sent." Cardi B froze. The woman handed her an envelope. Inside, there was a handwritten note from years ago. "Bel Callis, I left you because I hated my life, but there was never a day I didn't love you. I was too weak to be worthy of you." When Cardi B read the letter, something broke inside her, but at the same time, something healed. That night, when she returned to her hotel, she looked in the mirror, and for the first time, when she looked back at her past, she didn't feel anger. She felt understanding. The unfinished book was closed. A year later, she arrived at the opening of the Young Women's Center in the Bronx. She was wearing a white dress. Her little daughter was walking beside her. She looked at the crowd and took the microphone. "We all have dark chapters in our stories, but we don't have to stay in the dark. We can create our own light. I did it, and you can too." And at that moment, Cardi B's story was completed. Not just as the story of a star, but of a warrior. And it remained, not for the audience, but as a legacy for the world. A woman who emerged from the shadows of her past had lit her own light, and it would burn forever.